In the Northern Cape, around 20 kilometers from the Namibian border and the small town of Rietfontein, is Hakskeenpan, a 600 square kilometer dry lake bed or salt pan, which for the second year running was home to the Kalahari Desert SpeedWeek. Dust aside, Nissan, MTN and Northern Cape Tourism were sponsors for the festival and helped make it possible to bring a bit of civilization to this desolate part of the world. A pre-built tented camp welcomed guests and competitors, or they could bring their own tents to call home for the week-long duration of the event. The 7-kilometer surface that drivers were going to be testing the limits on was laid down and tended to by Dust Aside. A platoon of marshals were arranged to keep order on and off the track, along with South Africa's finest. In the interests of safety, there was an on-site ambulance and team of paramedics, with a unique 6-bed medical center housed inside an inflatable structure. There was also a mobile pharmacy and an on-call ambulance for emergency evacuations, should they be required. Cars of all ages and descriptions made the long journey to Hakskeenpan to enjoy a week of uncapped speed and adrenaline. Each vehicle had to go through the rigorous scrutineering process before being deemed safe to continue forward to the individual runs. Once this was done, the drivers were let loose on the course. The Kalahari Desert SpeedWeek is not a race or a competition. It's a place where petrol heads get together and celebrate anything and everything with an internal combustion engine in one of the most idyllic and scenic locations within Africa. Nissan sponsored a fleet of vehicles to assist the organizers with the transportation and also provided this beauty, the GTR 35, as the official SpeedWeek chase car. So how do you go about recording such high speeds in the middle of nowhere? Willem Lowe from Trevello has the answer.
This machine here is a typical mobile unit we use for mobile speed law enforcement, and it's basically a computer with a fancy camera and some fancy hardware and software in it, and that makes it possible to measure the speed. This particular one was modified a bit to do with the high speeds we were hoping to see here at SpeedWeek, and I measure the speed by measuring the average speed over the last 100 meters via 2 laser sensors, and that is how I give them the speed, and then they relay it to the parties that need it.
Barry Ashmole, in his 1941 Ford pickup, is first onto the pan. A great top speed of 191 kilometers for the heavily modified 72-year-old pickup. He ended up doing a best run time of 198 kilometers for the weekend, 20 kilometers faster than his best time last year. Next up, some Mustang horsepower.
Mustang, we did 205. I think we can do better. We have to drop our tire pressures a bit. I think it's too hard.
Mayo Joubert on his KTM 950 adventure is the first of the bikes to post a time on the pan. He sets a very respectable 184 kilometers in the vast openness of the Hakskeenpan.
The pan is difficult. You cannot imagine how difficult it gets when you get to 200 kilometers an hour, but it is exciting.
It's a V12 6.5 litre 700 horsepower supercar, perfectly designed to run at Hakskeenpan because it's really aerodynamic, 4-wheel drive, and it handles extremely well. Well, I did 300 this morning. The goal is to go faster than 308, which I did last year. So I think with the right conditions tomorrow morning, we should exceed 308. As the day goes on and it gets hotter, the car loses power. So the best time to run is in the morning when you've got maximum power and as little wind as possible. But it's a scary run. You're driving on dirt, the car's moving to the left and to the right. You can't pull on the steering wheel too hard because you could end up spinning the car. So traction is a big thing.
Damien Van Zyl, in his wonderful 1970 Ford Fairlane, will have his pedal to the metal as he powers down to the 5.5 kilometer mark where the speed is taken. George Besson, the founder of Dusticide and a great supporter of the Kalahari Desert SpeedWeek, brought his Chrysler C300 out to play. Mr. Porsche himself, Tim Abbott, is up next in his superbly turned out 1958 Porsche 356A. Tim's expertise and reputation for immaculate engine, gearbox, and performance work on classic Porsche machinery is unsurpassed. Along the side of the track at a safe distance, spectator spots were set up for family and friends to watch the action and take in spectacular views offered by the Huckskin Pun. The skies were alive too, with an assortment of private helicopters and aeroplanes, and one particular P-51 Mustang, which was giving the crowd an extra dose of entertainment. It belongs to Menno Parsons, who brought Mustang Sally into South Africa in 2010 from its North American home. The fantastic whistling sound you can hear as the P-51 Mustang flies at high speed is from the air passing through the fairing on the gun ports. Menno Parsons has a passion for air races. Greg Potton has a passion for speed on the ground. So a friendly matchup between the aerial-bound Mustang and the flying Aventador was inevitable.
The Mustang will stall at about 250 k's an hour, so I had to get up to 250 really quickly. And then he was flying a little quicker than I was, so then I had to play catch-up. And then I ended up overtaking him just before the speed point.
One of the best pictures of the day came courtesy of the Trevello high-speed camera at the finish line. During the week, the greener side of the motoring vehicle community came to show us how they can also roll with the big boys in their electric and solar-powered cars, scooters, and golf carts.
So how did I end up doing this? Well, I'm a geek basically. I grew up on a farm, so I kind of have that maybe golf cart thing in me, certainly the 4x4 ones. But I started a sustainability consultancy here 4 years ago because I wanted to do something about the issues I was seeing in the world around us. And I started riding and driving electric vehicles about 3.5 years ago. And basically this year I decided I wanted to do more to try and push electric vehicles to get them out there and provide options for people in South Africa, because there's just virtually nothing available at the moment. So I teamed up with Melix Electric Vehicles, formed a company called eWhiz, electric whizzing around, that's the idea.
The Eco Speed Week is seen as an innovative platform where ideas and technologies can be shared and creativity thrive. There are no restrictions or set guidelines of what vehicle can or cannot participate in the Eco Speed Week Challenge. The only rule that is non-negotiable is driver and team safety. And with no classes set as yet, that means unrestricted creativity.
I'm enjoying my time here at the Huckskin Pun. Even though I'm down to the heat, the company's good, and the whole event is organized superbly, so I'm having a real good time.
After the eco competitors had pushed the speed limits on the straight sprint, they then checked how their vehicles fared for 5 hours on the endurance course.
We are good to go. This is the endurance race for the electrical vehicles. Huckskin Pun 2013. It's going to be hectic. We're going to be cruising at around 80 kilometers per hour, believe it or not. We're going to try and do about 200 k's.
Over the next few hours, they battled it out in the heat of Huckskin Pun.
MTN really came to the point. They've erected a tower here, a permanent tower for us, with full-on 3G. MTN has put up a media center that's as good as the best in the world. It's full air conditioned. It overlooks the pan. It's probably the office with the best view in the world. Not only that, they also have a kiosk there selling cards and updating the guys' phones, and where you can recur and everything. It's just unbelievable.
Join us after the break for more action from the 2013 SpeedWeek. Welcome back to the Kalahari Desert SpeedWeek event. The surface of the pan is not like your average tar road. It's dynamic and offers very little grip at high speed, so keeping a high-powered car in a straight line requires a certain finesse and skill, together with a large helping of bravery.
I don't know, I think it's a combination of a 40-year-old suspension and maybe not the right tires in front. It's a bit difficult. I'm only really getting the speed down in the last 500 meters. But you know, every day it's different. I suppose it's all part of the game.
Gary certainly made those last 500 meters count as he set a top speed of 202 kilometers an hour.
It's a bit wandery. I don't know what word to use. It wanders around at about 250 k's an hour. It floats. It bounces a little bit, and you think it's very smooth, but it's actually not. There's some ruts and it moves around a lot.
Next up in this racy red Audi R8 is Dennis Dropper, the motoring editor of independent newspapers. With nothing to hit or to make a car roll on this dead flat clay surface which stretches for kilometers in every direction, the drivers are able to really test the limits of the car. Stefan Pienaar in his baby blue Lotus 7 is up next.
It was loose. It was very loose, yeah, it was going a little bit sideways, and yeah, it was difficult to to keep it going straight.
This 30-year-old Dart GSM cuts a striking figure as it heads off the start and into the vast openness of the desert.
We ran a couple of runs yesterday. The surface wasn't very good. The new surface a lot better. 2 runs now, same time, so it's probably the end of the technical spec of the car. This one is closer to the original spec. It's got the old Ford engine, gearbox and diff in it. The other 2 are, the one is running a Mazda running gear, a turbocharged rotary motor, and then the third car is running a 16-valve Opel engine.
Hi, my name's Chris Dahl. I drive a twin-turbo 370Z. It's a GTM twin-turbo with intercooler, oil cooler. We've put a bigger oil sump on the machine to try and keep it cool in runs like this. First time at SpeedWeek, first run. A little scary out there, if I have to say so myself. This particular car runs around about 850 horsepower, 900 odd Newton meters of torque. So you've got to be very gentle when you're out on a slippery surface like that. It handles well on the tar, but the power that this thing puts down is quite serious. So you've got to be very light on the throttle when you're on slippery ground like that. And coming down here for the first time, I could feel it. Every time you push the throttle a bit, the back wants to go out on you.
And serious power delivers serious speed. A 272 kilometers an hour run, one of the fastest of the event. Barry Ashmole had been slowly building his Roadster over the past few years, but 4 months before SpeedWeek, he decided to get it ready to run at the Pan. It was about 80% done, then he decided to lengthen it by 8 inches, creating even more work for him and the team. After a great run with the pickup, the team were on a high and decided to go back and finish the Roadster. And they turned up for the final day of competition. Their first run netted a top speed of 191 kilometers an hour in 4th gear. On the second run, a cooling system issue gave Barry a face full of steam and water. And approaching 200 kilometers an hour with zero visibility was interesting. He shut down the run and coasted at home.
Well, it's been quite a long one. It's taken a couple of years. That's what you see in the back there. It's the car that I originally bought as a running car. It had a fiberglass body on, a similar kind of body style. There were a couple of things that were wrong with it, and we started tearing it down, and one thing led to another, and we rebuilt the whole thing pretty much from scratch, from sheet metal, from steel. This is just a little Chevy small block 307. It's fairly mild. It's got a little block carbon manifold on it, but other than that, it's pretty standard. But the thing is, the car's light. It doesn't have much frontal area, so it doesn't have to push a lot of air out the way. So it goes. We've had a couple of just sighting runs up and down now, and it's doing good.
Leroy Tulip in his 1970 Volvo Amazon has been attending the Kalahari SpeedWeek from year one and is one of their biggest supporters. For this year, Leroy has had the Volvo's head gas flowed and has installed an electronic ignition and was aiming for the 160 km/h marker. The heat haze paints a beautiful picture as the Volvo Amazon gives it its all in its quest to reach the 160 marker. Unfortunately, this time, Leroy didn't quite manage to reach his goal, but there's always next year. The iconic Volkswagen Beetle was also represented at the Kalahari SpeedWeek, with the stunning 1974 Blue Machine being driven by Dion Watson, kicking up the desert dust as he accelerates up to top speed.
Had a good run, doing quite well, but the headwind was a bit harsh. Changed to fourth gear, going strong, started losing a bit of power, changed back to third to get the revs up, changed back to fourth, the gearbox died on us. So yeah, so we've been towed in by an Isuzu, unfortunately. But yes, it was a good run, but I think it'll hopefully not our last. We're going to try and repair it and get back on the track. So hopefully we see people just now again.
Time for some two-wheeled action as the bikes take to the pan. Werner Diergaard is first up on his Suzuki GSXR, looking confident as he leaves the start. He sets a fantastic top speed of 245 km/h.
We're doing runs 2 up and my buddy got out of the car and it felt a lot lighter in the beginning. I had traction control off and then switched the traction control on about a third of the way into the run and got hit by a gust of wind and the front went a bit light and just ended up losing it. I don't want to swear on TV. Yeah, it was. I felt pretty calm, and I knew it was coming. I could feel the steering go light, and I was just floating by that stage. So I just kept my foot flat and tried to hold on and see it through.
Johan Ham is up next on his 30-year-old Husqvarna 500 XL. Great little machine. And eventually posting a top speed of 140 km/h. A chance for some German engineering to show its might as Johann Zock brings out the BMW 325i. Not sounding too healthy off the start, but he does soon get himself up to speed and posts the top time. Henk van der Merwe prefers something a little bit more modern and brings out the Audi Q7 to have a play. The Q7 sets an impressive top speed of 203 km/h. In a battle of German engineering and precision, Richard Hebblethwaite will be aiming to better the set time run by the Q7 with his BMW X6. No horses will be spared as he heads full tilt towards the speed trap, but still comes up 17 k's an hour short.
I think today the track is a bit roughed up compared to yesterday. I think yesterday the track was a lot smoother, so it seems to be breaking up just a little today. I find that when you get to sort of over 160, 170 on the pan, the car drifts a bit, particularly my car. So I was a little bit nervous.
Ork Delport on his Yamaha WR450F accelerates off the start line and into the horizon. With no fairing on the bike to hide behind, Ork crouches behind the bars for maximum aero effect. Another iconic car from the yesteryears takes to the pan as Harold Fenter leaves the start line in his magnificent 1976 Ford Escort Mark I. As the day goes on, the heat haze rising from the pan emphasizes the trying conditions these cars and bikes are being run in, with temperatures well over the 30-degree marker. John Jeffrey is eager to show the crowd that his Miller Speed Shop custom-built Ford Roadster still has it. He has a steady pace as he leaves the start line and accelerates down the pan. The old girl still has what it takes as he posts a top speed of 169 kilometers an hour. Great stuff from the old girl. One of the showstoppers at this year's event, Greg Parton, in his Lamborghini Aventador, will be aiming to better the top speed that he set last year of 308 kilometers an hour as he heads out for his final run of the 2013 Kalahari SpeedWeek. The Aventador is flying as it heads towards the speed trap. Will Greg have reached his goal? He passes the speed trap and has reached 303 kilometers an hour this time around. Not quite what he was looking for. When it comes to the bikes, though, this is where Greg Parton may face his toughest competition to be the fastest vehicle in the desert, as Jannie van der Kerk heads out on the Suzuki Hayabusa. Jannie maxes out at a top speed of 310 kilometers an hour and is officially the fastest vehicle on the 2013 Desert Speed Week. A stunning ride from him. Kalahari Speed Week is not all about speed. There is so much open space with no obstacles to hit that it would be a shame to not have a play area where the drivers can go when they feel the urge to have some fun and do things that are usually frowned upon in their cars. Donuts, drifting, driving, all part of a day's work on Kalahari Speed Week. The open road, beautiful scenery and great machinery. What more could you want? Kalahari Speed Week delivers it all. That was the Kalahari Desert Speed Week. Don't miss out on all the excitement in 2014. Entries close on the 31st of August, and all the fun starts down on the pan on the 20th of September. We'll see you there.